everybody, to another edition of Tech on Ice, where we talk about tech in a cold plunge. It's about 51.3 degrees Fahrenheit. I can't do the Celsius real quick. Like around 11, maybe. Probably not right. Anyway, let's get to the topic at hand. I want to talk a little bit about AI-based coding assistants. There's a lot in this space. A few are kind of fringe, a few are kind of hot right now. The one that people most notably recognize is like GitHub Copilot, which is obviously the GitHub / Microsoft offering in this space. It's interesting because I think you've seen things like this before to an extent, right? If you're like a .NET developer, there's been IntelliSense and IntelliCode for, a good amount of time where you type in and then the editor that you're in kind of says, hey, like, is this what you're trying to type? Do some autocomplete or some suggestion or what have you. But a lot of that was, a lot of code analyzing, as well as kind of building, a database of sorts, a model of your code, like local language machine. And what Copilot is, or these other coding assistants, is it uses more like a larger data set. I think in GitHub's case, it's like every publicly available GitHub repository, unless you request to be removed from it. What's interesting is that, there's a lot of dialogue about this replacing certain segments of developers, junior developers, or folks that are hyper-focused in certain areas that the tooling is really strong in. And I think it's a little bit different than that. One, like, no one's job is getting replaced. I think most people kind of see, I think that's more of a fear-mongering thing, like jobs are getting replaced by this. But what I want to talk about specifically, like how to use them to be successful as any developer, whether you're junior, mid-level, senior, or even an architect, right? Or you're using, you want to be able to use tools that are not like traditional programming languages, like PowerShell or Bash or what have you. A lot of people interact with it using like a chat sort of a user experience. So there's like a chat interface, and you type and you're having a more or less a conversation with this coding assistant. What I see a lot of people do, like when they do demos at conferences or like YouTube videos, is that they'll ask it a question, and then that's it. They get a response, and then they use that response or whatever. I've noticed, at least in my personal experience, that the longer you have the conversation, the better the experience is for you as the developer. What I mean by that is that, quite simply, just asking follow-up questions, providing additional context, correcting it if it gives you something that doesn't quite make sense, or asking for a further explanation, goes a long way in helping the coding assistant get you the answer you want. Here's an example. Say, for instance, I wanted to add a new feature to my application. And it says, okay, so in order to add this feature, you're going to add, this file, and it's going to have this code in it, and then you're going to add this code to this other file. But it doesn't really make sense based on like the already existing structure of your app. You correct it. You say, well, actually, my app is kind of structured like this. Do it like this. It says, oh, okay, well, thank you for letting me know. And it goes on, and then you go back and forth, right? Or you say, explain why this is the best approach, or are there methods using this particular programming pattern, right? So those things go a long way in helping you as the developer not only get to the problem or get to the solution to the problem you're trying to solve, but also get a better understanding of how these things actually work, right? Because they're not intelligent per se. I know some market themselves as like, oh, intelligent, or, learns with you, or fake reasons, or anything. Like, let's be real. Like, this is, it's more or less like a lot of conditional logic. And I know I'm oversimplifying a lot of it, but, it's lookups, it's comparisons, it's basically trying to connect the dots between data points. And it's not going to think like you. It's not going to have your domain experience. But what it does have is that it can do things substantially faster, right? Like, even if you could type 140 words a minute, it's still faster than you. I had a programming professor when I was in college, and he gave us a programming assignment, and he said, shouldn't take you more than the weekend to complete this assignment. And it was like, use red black trees to build something. And I asked him quite frankly, like in the class, I'm like, how long would it take you to write it? And he's like, as long as it took me to type it. So the joke that he made was that he knew the entire program in his head, and as long as he could type it, as long as he could type, I think that was a tongue-in-cheek comment, but I think the point that I'm trying to make is the thing is going to type faster than you. So if you have boilerplate code, if you have code that you kind of know what it's supposed to look like already, but you don't want to type it yourself, please have the AI do it. Focus on the code that matters to you and the code that you want to write, and let that thing, with some guidance, do a lot of the work for you. So that's my little diatribe / recommendation on how to best use the tool. I think for a lot of folks it's probably common sense, but you'd be surprised. Some people, they just ask a question, they get a response, they use that response, or they start a new chat window and ask the same question a different way. It's not Google search. It's a conversational assistant, right? Anyway, so that's my episode for this. Sorry. So that's me for this episode. If you like this sort of content where I'm talking about tech, giving a little bit of advice, maybe do a little bit of educational stuff, do some musings, like, subscribe, follow, share with your friends. Also comment down below if you want me to talk about specific things or you have a question, because I really want to make sure that I'm doing these sort of things that are going to bring you the most value. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and yeah, take care.